Was supposed to start at 9, so we'll wait for some time for people to join. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I see quite a few of you have joined in. So let's start. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit late. I got late. I actually started, but I forgot to hit on the live button. I was talking without hitting the live button. So I did quite a bit of the class, and then I realized that, oh my god, I have not even clicked on live. So because of that, I got late. So apologies for that. So yeah, let's start the class again. For me, it is again. So today we will be doing the three very important steps that you are supposed to do, that we are supposed to do, that anyone should do before they start the process of fabric painting. Okay, so there are few very important steps that we should be doing. But before we do that, many of you are from my community, from community in the sense from my students group. But if you are new here, then let me give a quick introduction of myself. I'm Sujata Datta, fashion designer and boutique specialist. So I teach fashion designing through my digital courses, and I teach women how to set up their boutique with zero investment. Okay, so that is also something that I do, and yeah, so I've been into this designing. I've been a very creative person since childhood. I didn't start as a fashion designer. I have done software engineering. I started it like that, but then later on I did fashion designing also. But the creative side, fabric painting, sketching, embroidery, stitching, all these things I have been exposed to since early childhood. Okay, since early childhood, I've been exposed to all these things, and I've been doing this. And so I have seen, and I have kind of, it's like home training, you can say. It's not something that if there is something like professional degree in fabric painting, I don't have that. So whatever I'm going to show you or teach you is through personal experience, what I have been doing over the past lot of years, and what I have seen others do. I used to see my mother's friends do fabric painting, how they used to do at those during those times. So it is a mixture of all these things. Okay, so let's quickly start again. So I'll start by the things that we are supposed to do before we actually do start the process of fabric painting. There are few things that we are supposed to do, right? So the first thing is fabric. What may happen is, when we are very excited, we want to do fabric painting and all. We may just think that it is possible in anything and everything. The fact is that, you have to be very particular with the fabric selection, the type of fabric that you use for fabric painting. You have to be very particular about that, because you can't just do fabric painting in any and every kind of fabric. The best type of fabric is cotton fabric. Okay, even in cotton you have to check the type of fabric it is, because sometimes the cotton fabric will have pilling is, those bubble formation on top, which would have, if it has got some kind of woolen thread also, like if it is a woolen mix, then you will see those pilling happening. So if the fabric is like that, which has pilling as in bubble formation on top, or you will also see, when you observe the fabric very closely, you will see that, small fibers, like in Hindi we call resha, right? Those fibers coming out of the fabric. So if that also happens, then those kind of fabrics are also not good for fabric painting. You can't use that, because when fabric painting we use different types of brushes. So when we have to draw very thin lines using thin brushes, then those fibers that come out of the fabric, that will cause a lot of problem. You will not be able to draw properly, and it will be, all crooked, and all the lines will not be nice and smooth. And if there is pilling, obviously pilling means if there are bubble formation of the fabric, then again, it would be very difficult. It wouldn't be convenient to draw on those kind of fabrics, to paint on those kind of fabrics, and it wouldn't even look nice, right? So that is one thing. So when I say cottons, it doesn't mean only cotton. It can be cotton based, like cotton silk is good. Pure silk is very good for fabric painting. Art silk, then cotton silk, cotton satin also to some extent is not bad. Linen is very good for fabric painting. The fabrics which are not very good for fabric painting are fabrics like, georgette, chiffon, net. Obviously these are not good for fabric painting, because it's not that you cannot do fabric painting on georgette. I have done it. I have done very expensive georgettes. My mom has a sari which I had done for her long time back when I was in 8th standard. That was like very fine georgette of garden Vareli that time. Okay, so I don't know how they are selling right now. So it was very difficult. That is when I realized, first time I realized that, oh, these kind of fabrics cannot be used for fabric painting. I mean, I was able to do it, but it's very difficult. You need a lot of paint, because the moment you put the brush stroke, immediately the paint gets absorbed and it goes on the other side, and on top there is nothing left, right? So you have to, the paint has to be really very thick to do that. And if you use very thick paint, then the problem is that, you are not able to do proper shading. You can't do proper shading. So thin fabrics, very thin fabrics like georgette, chiffon, these can't be used for fabric painting. These are not ideal for fabric painting. Again, net, obviously everything will pass through. You can't do proper fabric painting on a net fabric. What else? You can use organza, not organza. They used to have this kind of fabric earlier. I forgot the name. A lot of saris would be available, so that was perfect for. I forgot the name. If I remember, I'll tell you within the live only. Okay. So basically cotton based fabrics are very good for fabric painting. Yeah, so that is step 0. Actually, before we start doing anything, the right fabric selection is very important, otherwise you will be struggling, it will be very difficult. Now, moving on to step 1. What is step 1? Step 1 is the motif selection. So obviously when you are doing painting, you just don't take the fabric, the top or the dress, the sari, whatever you want to paint. You don't just do it, right? So how do we do the selection of the motif? That is very important, especially if you are new. If you are just starting off, then you have to keep a few things in mind before you select the motive, right? So what are the things that you are supposed to keep in mind? Let me quickly share my screen and show you. Firstly, yeah, you can select the fabric motif from Google. You can select it from Pinterest, right? So you can select it from any of these things. I generally prefer selecting anything from Pinterest, because we get a lot of variation. It's very precise. Even in Google you will get good ones. So let me quickly share. What I'm sharing with you is on Pinterest. Okay, that is the best place. Okay, so this is Pinterest. Okay, now if I have to look for motive, all you can do is just type motive. So if you don't have Pinterest, you can download this Pinterest app on your phone. It is absolutely free. You log in using your email ID, password, or using Google credentials. You can log in and you can start using. Okay, and you have to just start using, as in you get lot of ideas. If you want to it is basically a gallery of pictures. You can even save the pictures. You can create pins. I have Rahasya Creations on Pinterest. You can follow me if you want, because everything in that is segregated, like sleeves, type of necks, type of backs, type of blouses, type of tops, midis, even sari variations. These are a lot of categories you will see under my board, and everything is already well categorized. So if you follow me, you can get everything very quickly. Okay, so that is about the Pinterest. But if you have to look for something new, you can just go to this like this home page on your mobile. Also it's possible. Right now what you are seeing is on the on my computer, and you just type motif. Okay, so when you type motif, then you will see lots of types of motifs. Okay, you will see embroidered motifs, where thread embroidery is there. So you might feel, oh wow, this is looking so beautiful, I would want to do that. Now when selecting motif, it is very important the type of motifs that you select, because if you're, especially if you're starting off, then it will, just shouldn't select any kind of motif, right? This may look so pretty, wow, this is so elegant and so nice, I select this motif. Don't make that mistake, because what happens when you just select anything and everything, when you actually have to paint, you will have a lot of confusion, as in with color selection. How do I select the color, what do I do, how do I do the shading? So it will become very difficult, especially if you select a real life don't select real life pictures when you are starting off. When you have done it a lot of times, you have got a very good practice, and you are, very you are able to understand shades and colors and everything very nicely. That time you can choose a real life picture, and maybe use that for your fabric painting. Okay, so if I'm saying that, don't use things like which have got embroidery or something for this is not proper. This you can still use, because it is like a flat painting thing, so you can still use this is still fine. Okay, so if you have to select the motif for fabric painting, so what you can put is, instead of motif, you can put painted motifs. Okay, so then you will get motifs which have been painted. Can be any kind of paint, it can be watercolor, fabric painted, or any kind. But when I put painted motif, you see, you will get mostly fabric painted motifs. Okay, so lot of variations you will get. So you can select the motif, and when you are selecting the motif, be a little bit careful, as where the motif will be, right? If you are putting it on a top, on the, like, just like on the corner of the top, you know that it has to be a small motif, so we can't be selecting something as big as this, because this doesn't make sense. So just be a little mindful about the size of the motif. Okay, now I have already created a pin with few of motifs, not a lot of motifs, only few motifs are there in that pin, and I have selected the motif that I am going to show you today, that we are going to work with today. So this is the motif that I have selected. So you can see it's a very small one, and you can see it is painted motif. So when I have to start coloring, I will be able to do the shading very nicely. When I have to do the shading, it will be very easy. I will show you all those things. Today we will not do shading. Today we will just learn the basic steps. Okay, so next class we will start doing the actual painting, right? So here, this is a very small one that I have selected. Now once you have selected the motif, then what do you do? The next step is to sketch it out. Okay, so before you even start sketching out, there are few steps for that also. So what are the steps before you start sketching out? So before you start sketching out, what you need to do is, you need to see the area where you want to do the fabric painting. Okay, so suppose I'll give you an example. Suppose this is the top that you want to do fabric painting on. Now it's already got prints, but assume that this is plain fabric, plain top. Okay, so if you are doing the painting here, so you see that this is very small, right? But if you want to do the painting here, you can take a bigger size. Okay, you can make a bigger sketch of whatever motif you select. Once you select the motif, the size can always be varied. Okay, size can always have variation. So this is the second step. Second step is, you have to be sure of the size of your motif, right? And then what you do, then you have to, there are two things that you can do. First thing is, what you can do, you can download the image from wherever you saw. You download the image and you go and take a printout. Once you take a printout, then you will see that, oh, this is very big. So when you go for the printout, you take the fabric also with you, on which you will be, or the dress or sari, whatever, on which you will be actually doing the fabric painting. You keep on that, and you see that, oh, it is, very big, or it is very small. Then you can tell the person to give you a bigger xerox, a bigger copy, or a smaller copy, so that xerox, through xerox they can do the variation. I generally don't do that, because I love sketching, I love to draw. So I have never done that. I've never done printouts and copies and all for fabric painting. I love to draw. So what I do is, I determine the size. that size I put on the paper. Okay, whatever small size I put on the paper, and then I start the drawing. So I'll quickly share a video here on how we draw, how I did for today for this class, what I did. Okay, so I'll quickly share with you. And let me just select. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, so I'll play the first video. So in the video you will see what is happening, but I will tell you what I am doing. Okay, so just starting the video. It's taking some time. Wow, it's taking a lot of time. Okay, fine. Everything is taking a lot of time. I'm not able to share right now. Give me a minute here. Let me share the window. Yeah. So see, I have marked the area. This is the size, as you can see, and I will play the video now. So this is the size. I'm showing this size, that this is on a A3 size paper. I'm showing the size so that you know that how big the place was. And see, this is the motif that I had selected, and now I'm just drawing it. I'm just sketching it out, as in just the outline. And this is in full speed. I have put it at a very high speed. When I was drawing, it was not so fast. Okay, just so that the it gets done very quickly. To save your time, I have done the put it on a fast forward mode. And so I sketch it like that. So when you are sketching, make sure that you use fine tip pencil, like these fine tip pencils. So that is what I'm using. It is always better to sketch using fine tip pencil. Okay, and it's not necessary that whatever the motif is you have to copy 100%. Here you might not be able to see properly because I'm using a fine tip pencil, but then that is how it's supposed to be done. I can't use a marker to do the drawing, right? Because then it would not come out proper. And to trace it and or put it on the fabric also, it becomes a little bit difficult. Okay, so yeah, so as I was saying, that when you see the motif, it's not necessary that you have to copy the motif 100%. You can omit few parts of the motif. You can change a little bit of the motif. Right here I've generally copied almost everything of the motif. Only the two flowers on the left hand side that you see, that I have omitted. I have not used those flowers. Okay, those are flowers I have not using it. And yeah, so this is the motif. Okay, so select the size. Based on the size, you draw the motif. Okay, now once you have drawn the motif, then we will move to the next step. Right, so what is the next step? Okay, one second. Organdy, correct, Shweta. You are right. Organdy fabric. Organdy is very good for the fabric painting. Yeah. So it's very thin, so you will not be able to see on the camera very properly, but then you can understand what I am trying to say. Once you have done the sketching, the next step is to do the next bit. Okay, what is the next bit? Let me share it with you again. So the next step is as I said, the second step is the decision of the size and sketching. The third step is preparation. Now you have to start preparing the fabric for fabric painting, right? So how do we do that? There are quite a few things. Initially when you do, it might feel, oh, okay, it is so lengthy, so cumbersome, what all things are to be done. But don't worry, it doesn't take a lot of time. The more you practice, you keep getting better, and the speed increases. So in prepping, when you have to do the prepping, what you have to do, you have to decide the exact position on the dress, fabric, sari, wherever you are doing. So this is very important. Where exactly will the drawing go, or where exactly will you be doing the painting? So understand and determine the exact position where it has to happen. Okay, second step is you will have to trace. I will show you a video on that also, as in how you do the tracing. Okay, so there are two steps for tracing also, so I will show you for that how to do. And next is third step is fixing. So I'll show you all these things. Okay, so first, we what we will be doing is we will understand the motif that you have created. Right now, that motif we can't use directly on the fabric. There is one step that is in between, before we start, before we put it on the fabric. So for that, we use tracing paper like this. You will get tracing papers which are like see through butter paper type paper. Okay, so so this was a peacock which I had done for a customer's blouse. I had made the motif for my embroidery wala. So you will get these papers very easily in stationery shops. So you need this kind of fabric. So see, I have already traced the motif on this paper. Yeah, I've already traced the motif here. Now, how to trace it on tracing paper? It's very easy. I'm sure all of you have done it at some or the other point of time. Yeah. So let me quickly show you a very short 2-minute video on that also, as in how to do the tracing. Okay. So I'll play that video also. Yeah. So it's opened up. So once you have done the created the motive, right? Once you have done the sketching of the motive, next step is to just do the trace it out on the paper. So here what I have done, I've taken the paper, placed the tracing paper on top of that. Okay, now for demonstration purpose, I had showed that I marked the area. You don't have to mark the area on the paper where you are doing the sketching. This is just to show you that this is how small I wanted the motif to be. And I made the boundary that, okay, my motif should not cross this boundary by a big amount. Like, if it crosses by a little amount, it's fine here and there, but it shouldn't cross the boundary for with a very big amount. Okay, so you don't have to draw the boundary, but when you are doing the sketching on a fabric, if you make the boundary for your reference, it would be very good. Okay, now what I have done, I have placed the tracing paper on top of the normal paper, okay, on which the sketching is. And many people do they sellotape, they use a sellotape, and they tape this to the main paper, so that, because if the paper moves, this tracing paper, if it moves, then you will have to align everything, and it takes a lot of time. It wastes a lot of time. So instead of using a sellotape, what I've used paper weights. So I've put the paper weights so that my tracing paper is in place. And I've again, this is again fast forwarded. It is in real speed is not this fast. Okay, I've fast forwarded it here, and I have traced out the entire thing on the tracing paper. Okay. Now, when you are making the thing on tracing paper, you might say that why did we do it on paper? We could have done the entire thing on tracing paper in the very first go, right? That might come in your mind, because this is one step extra. Now, remember, when you draw on tracing paper, if there is any error, then when you have to erase, it's very, it becomes very ugly. to erase, because the graphite of the pencil, right, it becomes very black and it spreads. You will not be able to erase it very nicely. Okay, so I would advise never to draw directly on a tracing paper. Draw it on a paper, so that if you have to erase it, you can erase it any number of time. And then you put the tracing paper on top of that, and then you just trace it out quickly on the tracing paper. Now that you have it on tracing paper, now we have to transfer it on the fabric. Okay, so that is the last step of preparation. Okay, I'm not talking about actually painting, I'm talking about preparing before you even start the painting. These are the steps that you have to do, right? Now, for that also, I will share a quick video. For that, you will need obviously the tracing paper on which you have traced the motif. You need the fabric, iron it nicely, it should be smooth. There shouldn't be any wrinkles on the fabric. And you will need carbon paper. I'm sure everybody knows what a carbon paper is, right? So it is this kind of paper. Okay, for light color fabric, you can use this dark color carbon paper. If you want to paint on um, uh, black fabric, then these generally don't work, you will not be able to see. Then you can use this kind of transfer paper. Okay, it is called transfer paper. Then you can use this. Then you will get, instead of these blue lines, you will get these this yellow lines. Okay, so for black paper, black fabric, you can use these kind of transfer paper. Yeah. Okay, now let's quickly see how we transfer it on fabric. Because when you transfer on fabric, as I said, you have to understand, you have to see that it is properly placed. So you have to mark the position on the fabric very nicely. Okay, properly you have to mark the position on the fabric. And only once you have done that, only then after that you will place the motif on the fabric, and then follow the process that I am going to show you next. Okay, so let me quickly play that also. Yeah, so see, I have taken the fabric. It is a white fabric, which you can see it is cotton fabric. I have placed the tracing paper on top of that, which has the motif, and then you can pin it. Okay, you pin it very nicely with the fabric. Okay, and don't pin it on all four sides. Pin it only on two sides. So pin it maybe on top and maybe only on one side. Just pin it on two sides. Don't pin it on all the sides, because if you pin it on all the sides, then next step will become very difficult. Okay, so I'll show you what is the next step. The next step is where you insert the carbon paper. Now once you have put the motif, now this will not move, so it will be very easy for you to do the tracing or transfer this design on the fabric. Okay, it will become very easy. Now that I have pinned it on two sides, I am taking the carbon paper. Remember very carefully that the dark blue color side has to face down, it has to face the fabric. Okay, and the silver color side, where all the things are written, where the brand name is written, that has to be on top. Remember that, because when I used to do, when I mean, of course that time I was young, as in I was when I was a child at that point of time. So I you had made this mistake many times. The carbon paper would be facing on top. Okay, but I have seen this happening with other aunties also, like my mom's friends and all. Sometimes they also used to make this mistake. So be very careful. The dark side has to face the fabric, the silver side has to be on top. Now here see, for this, when you trace it or transfer the motif on the fabric, now this time you use a normal HB pencil, not the fine tip pencil. Use the normal HB pencil, because you will have to apply a little bit of pressure, and it can be little bit thick. That is fine, because we will be painting on top of this, so everything will get covered. There is no problem with that. So if it is a little bit thick, it is fine. It shouldn't be very fine, because when it is very fine, there are chances that few parts will not get traced properly, and everything will not come up on the fabrics. When that happens, then then you will feel stressed. Oh my god, how do I place it again and all that. So now here see, I slowly remove the fabric paper. You fold it and keep it aside, because that can be used again for your next project. Remove the pins and remove the tracing paper. See, it has got nicely transferred on the fabric. Okay, so these are the steps that you are supposed to follow to transfer the, or to even before you start doing the painting, to preparation to do the painting, these are the things that you have to do. Okay, now see, I have already done it in this. This is a very soft cotton. It's like mull kind of fabric, as they call it. And see, I have already painted it here. Okay. Now, in the next class, we will learn actually how to do the painting. So there are two types that I will show you. That will be in the next live class. But before we do that, let us see a little bit about the paints. Okay, now, earlier when I was a child, the type of fabric paints that would be available at that point of time, it used to come with something called medium. So the paint used to be separate, medium used to be separate. You had to mix the paint with the medium and then do the drawing. Okay. But now the technology, and now with evolution, things have progressed so much. Later on, companies came up with fabric painting, and that could be used directly with water. You don't need a need. You didn't need a medium. And now the latest thing is, they don't even call it fabric painting, it is called acrylic paint. So in case if you're confused that, oh, acrylic paint, will this work on fabric, what will happen if I draw, don't worry, acrylic paints are meant for fabric as well. You can use acrylic paints anywhere. They are very good. So I'll show you a few of them. This is of camel. You will see something like fabrica here. It's getting inverted, I guess. Fabrica acrylic colors. So small boxes are available. All the primary colors will be there in this kind of box. If you don't want to buy box, then you can even buy loose. Okay, I prefer to buy loose colors, because then we get a lot of variations of colors. For example, in this you will not see hot pink, you will not see colors like skin color and all. Okay, so generally I prefer loose. So that is of camel. Not only camel, you get of fevicryl also, right? So Fevicryl, uh, you can buy the entire box. You can buy few colors, but when you are buying the colors, remember, when you the primary colors should definitely be there. There should be black, there should be white. So this small box is very good. The small one that you get, it's very good to start off with. When you are starting off, buy this. This is perfect. This is very good. Apart from that, if you want to create some other variations and all, you get many more styles. Like you get something like fluorescent colors also. This is of Faber Castle. Okay, these are a little bit on the expensive side. Now some of them of mine are over, some of them are there. So these are like neon kind of color. Okay, neon pink. Some of them are over, neon green, neon yellow. Those are the colors that you will get in this. This is Faber Castle. And the other one is metallic colors. That is also that you can buy of Faber Castle. So you will get metallic colors like gold, silver, bronze, copper, all those things. Okay, so you can buy the entire pack, or you can even buy them loose, right? So as I said, I prefer buying them loose. So then this is my small collection, other than all these colors that I have. So you can buy colors like some of them are here as well. Yeah, some of them are in front of me. So you can buy colors like gold. Okay, when you are buying loose, or you want specific shade of gold, you can buy. Then skin color, when you are drawing some face or something, you can buy this skin color kind of colors. So these you will not get in the box. Okay, you will generally get this loose. And skin color, I've seen not many shopkeepers keep it. So maybe you may have to order online, because not all shopkeepers keep it. So you can buy of any company like Camel, Fevicryl, Faber Castle. It doesn't make any difference. I mix and match also. It doesn't make any difference. If you're thinking that, oh, should I, is it okay to mix Camel with Faber Castle, is it okay to mix Fevicryl with Camel, etc., it's perfectly fine. Don't worry, I always mix and match. It doesn't make any difference. Okay, so these are the colors that are required, and these are now called acrylic colors. There is nothing called fabric color that is sold. If you go to a shop, if you ask for fabric color, he will give you acrylic color. So you shouldn't get confused that, oh, I want to draw on fabric and it is not written fabric color, it is written acrylic color. It's fine. It will stay. nothing will happen, your fabric will tear, nothing will happen to the painting that you do on the fabric if you follow the right process, like about ironing and all those things. Yeah, so that is about fabric painting, the three essential steps, or rather few instructions that you should follow before you even start the fabric painting. And in the next class we will learn actually how to do the fabric painting. Okay, so it is not very difficult, trust me ladies, it's very easy. If you are starting off, if you already do it, then you know it's not very difficult. You have to work in layers like any kind of painting, drawing, sketching, etc. And it's very easy. And fabric painting, you can say, is very forgiving. It might feel that, oh, if I make a little bit of mistake, especially if nature things like flowers, butterfly, birds, peacocks, etc., if you are making all those kind of things, it's very forgiving. Even if there is a minor mistake, it's not easily noticeable unless you've done a blunder. So that is all about today's class. In the next class we will see completely about how to do the painting. Okay, Titli, you found it a little bit hazy. I don't know, maybe because of the internet connection or what. I really don't know what the issue is, why it was showing so hazy. Yeah. Can we do on linen fabric? Yes, Ankita, you can use linen fabric. Linen fabric is also very good. Linen fabric, when you buy for fabric painting, be very careful. Careful. Sometimes linen fabric has those, what in Hindi we call resha, right? Those small fabric fibers coming out of the fabric. Some linen fabrics have that, so you have to be very careful. When you are buying, buy carefully. It shouldn't have that, because if it has those small fibers coming out, then it becomes very difficult to paint with thin brushes. If you have to draw thin outline, and even while filling up, it becomes very difficult to paint. So when buying, see the quality of the linen that you are buying. Very good quality linen will not have this issue. Cheaper linens might have this issue. Yeah. um okay. Yeah. Okay, great. So, yeah, is there any question that you have as of now? You can ask me here, or my students, you can ask me in the group also, in case if you have any questions, and I will be more than happy to answer them. You're welcome, Ankita. Yeah. Cool. So that's about it, dear ladies. And we'll meet on next Wednesday with the next part of fabric painting. And we will paint this. And I hope it is not as hazy today because it's raining a lot. There's a lot of internet issue actually here. My Airtel is not working at all. I'm using the other provider. So hopefully next class it would be better. Yeah. So thank you so much for your patience. And yeah, so that's all for today. Thank you so much. You people have a lovely night and an amazing weekend. Spend time with your family, friends, etc. Just rewind completely, and get fresh. Yeah, for the next week. Cool. Hello, everybody. Now it's time to go. So wishing you goodbye. See you. See you in the next class. Thank you. Thank you, Ina. Thank you. See you. Bye bye. Bye, everybody. Bye, Talat. Bye.